right now, with all the shit I see, you know, there's kids at home fucking dyeing their head purple, making $1 million a year, you know, telling people they're selling products or whatever. It doesn't take salesmanship. You learn from your ball sack, you know, hustle. You just get sick and tired of being on the couch and saying, I can't live like this anymore. How much longer? You know, I'm not going to go to ITT Tech. You know what I'm saying? Like, that ain't going to work. They ain't going to teach you nothing down there. You know? And that's we ever stay home in the daytime and you put TV on? That's what you get. ITT Tech. Learn how to cut hair. Learn how to fucking be a doctor's aide. No, you're not. People go to college for 8 years to be a doctor's aide. You've been sitting on a couch for 2 years. You gained 80 pounds. You got phlebitis fucking veins on your legs. You smell like popcorn, your neck. And you're going to go to some course for 8 months and they're going to teach you how to be a doctor's aide. Hello. You know, I mean, it's just, and a lot of shit is just experience. You could do so much more just getting a job today and putting your nose to the grindstone. I still believe in that. It's going to be corporate, and you're not going to like it. There's going to be rules. You can't tell that chick with the big tits, hey, let me rub your chat. You know, you can't crack those type of jokes.
I don't know if you can do that anywhere. I don't think you're supposed to say that to any girl with the big tits.
But no, you know what I'm saying, guys. So here I'm hanging out with let's just call him Boj for this. I'm doing little jobs for Boj. Nobody knows. I wouldn't tell anybody because I didn't want to ruin my relationship with Boj. I was doing little jobs for Boj, you know, I was doing the lumber yard, and I was doing robberies with Denny, right? So now Mr. Denny comes to me one day and he goes, the devil's father, because I was allowed in their house. They had a hot sister, and then they had a brother. The Denny's house was a very complex house. You had Mike Denny and a sister who was beautiful, and they were twins. Then you had the older Denny, and then you had a medium Denny who thought he was Jimmy Page. He quit high school when he was like 9. And 9! And he just played the guitar by the park. And he would try to be like that dude that was like very coolish. Mm-hmm. But the claim to fame of Denny is he had a chick that would suck your dick on demand. So if you'd see Denny, he'd go, what are you doing right now? Nothing. Suck his dick. So she never sucked my dick. I could be strictly, and you know, I'll tell you the truth.
I know you would.
I saw him a couple times, and he was such a creepy dude, and she was good looking. But then one night he took her to a party, and she sucked 22 dicks.
Come on.
I heard she burped and came out at the end and said, "Who's next?" So then I heard like a month later she blew 18 more guys.
Come on.
So they started calling her Marathon Woman. And she would sit in class, and people would go, marathon, marathon. I'll never forget her taking a picture. She was a year older than me and looking at the yearbook and seeing her, like, you know, like marathon, and then like seeing like her name, like Mary, whatever her name was, and most likely to succeed. And I'm like, she sucked 40 dicks in 2 nights without even burping. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that was the claim to fame to Jimmy Denny.
That is a lot of dicks.
Bro, this chick sucked 20. She broke the record. She broke the record.
She's a record breaker.
I don't even know what the record was. I think Houston 500 broke her record when she fucked the 500 people. But the Denny's were weird. But let me tell you how I had it. I was 16 and a half. And I was hanging out with Denny. And he goes, bro, we got to figure out a way for you to be able to drive. I go, Den, I got my learning permit, but I can't. He goes, fuck that shit. About a week later, his father called Mr. Denny, called me at the bend. He's like, you got a minute? Come over. I went over there. Mr. Denny's outside. There's a driving school guy with a little hat car with like driving school.
Yeah.
It's like Denny's driving school. It's like his cousin.
Instructor.
I walked up. He's like, give him a license.
Give him a license.
Give him a license. Write your name down, kid. I wrote Jose Diaz. I lied on my date of birth. I wrote it for it to be 1962 instead of 63. The guy gave me a receipt and I had a license. Yeah, you know, I read the book by Lenny Bruce, Ladies and Gentlemen. Lenny Bruce, you know, and it was just about doing drugs and going out every night. And that's exactly what I did. That's what I wanted to do. It was about getting high, getting on stage,
And in those days, there wasn't a lot of comedy in Denver. I was doing poetry readings.
What?
I was doing, you had to sneak in as a poet. So I would put on like a little hat with an apple on top, and I'd walk into a coffee shop and shit.
God damn. I wish there was a video of that shit somewhere.
Oh my God. The famous coffee shop was called Penny Lane in Boulder. It was Penny Lane. And I would go to Penny Lane. It was open 24 hours. Coffee shop, couches, you know, books, that type of stuff. A bunch of intellectuals, you know. And I would go in there for the 8 o'clock poetry reading, and they would throw me out every week. Stop. You can't talk like that in here. I'd be talking about Godzilla and fucking killing Chinese people and shit on stage. And they were like, you can't do that. This is poetry night. But there was one manager who worked the midnight shift to 8 in the morning, and her boyfriend was in the halfway house with me. So she saw me there one night, and she's like, you know, we do a poetry reading at midnight, from midnight to about 3 every morning. And I go, are you fucking serious? And she goes, come down. You're always welcome. So I would have to wait till midnight to do the poetry readings. And again, they would, you know, I'd have to follow a guy like that was up there. I ran, and I ran into the wilderness. And then I'd go up there throwing fucking heat, talking about Hitler and shit.
Oh, God.
We did the wake 5 days. The wake was tremendous. Cuban wake.
Yeah, what's
makes
that
an
like?
Irish wake look like a fucking daycare center.
A daycare.
Yeah, because they're 24 hours.
They are.
Yeah.
Now, with the is the body present? Is your
Body's
mom there
in the room.
in the casket?
In a
You're
casket.
just around and
In a casket. First fucking night, first viewing. I'm not in there. 5 minutes, and I'm hearing Zoraida yelling and screaming. And I look around, and she's got Rivero by the throat. By the throat. Like against the wall with like a fucking bottle. And she's like, you motherfucker, you put the wrong dress on her. She's like, you get in there and you fucking put the right dress on her. I told you it was the fucking blue dress. And I'm like, this is gonna be.
Gotta take her out of there and change her.
They fucking took her out. Put
Your
her
mom had an outfit change.
An outfit change.
When she was dead.
They put her back in the living room. Now these Cubans are walking in like there's another funeral. You know, when you have a funeral parlor, you have 3 rooms.
Yep.
You have 3 bodies at once. My mother's friends didn't give a fuck about the other families. They started coming in with coolers and like little portable bars and tables to play dominoes because they're like, this is what your mother wanted. Your mother didn't want nothing. Your mother wanted heavy duty people snorting coke. So we had to work the funeral in shifts. 8 to 4 was Zoraida, 4 to 12 was me, and 12
Most
to
viewings are like 7
Yeah.
to 9
No.
tonight and tomorrow.
No, this started. My mother died on a Wednesday night. The viewing was 3 days, 24 hours. And I mean, fucking craziness. People snorting coke, people fucking drinking. Zoraida snorted coke anywhere. Like Zoraida's claim to fame was that she could be right here watching you, and all of a sudden she'd just go in her bra and put it back, you know. And she wouldn't say a word. Since I was 5, I knew Zoraida, and she was always snorting coke. And she would do it no matter where. She did it at my first communion.
Your first communion.
No matter where we were. We could be at Barnum and Bailey Circus in New York City, and you'd see Zoraida doing little bumps. I watched her the whole weekend, just sitting there observing people. And she would go up to people and go, excuse me, didn't you have an argument with her in 1958? Get the fuck out of here.
She's bouncing people.
She was throwing people out. She never liked you and I never liked you.
Didn't you have an argument in 1958?
Oh, my God. But that night, I saw Zoraida kneeling down. Like, I went out and I came back and it was just her and my mother. I'm like, wow. And Zoraida was telling her, I'm going to take care of your son.
You're hearing all this, and she doesn't know you're there.
She doesn't know I'm in the room. She goes, I'm going to make sure he grows up to be a man. And I'll never forget she's saying all this stuff. And I'm watching in the middle of all this. She goes,
Yes.
she goes, she goes in the bra and she's doing like a bump. And she's like, I would give you one, but you know. And she's like fucking, I mean, it was just classic. It really stuck with me. And then the next day we buried her and she stayed with me for 2 weeks until my life got together, until we decided what I was going to do. I was either going to come to California, go to fucking Miami, or I could stay with my godmother in New York. But I was just getting it started in North Bergen. For the first time in my life, I was a somebody. I could have been, you know, when you ever watch Marlon Brando and On the Waterfront, you know, I was a somebody. People were starting to like me. I had clout, I had Carmine, I sold drugs. You know, I had a couple friends. I can't just leave. So I decided on, the clear choice was for me to live with the Balzanos. But I loved him too much, number one. Number two, I knew it was going to end up bad because he was too strict. So I knew this was not going to end up bueno. So before we even do this, let's agree to disagree. I loved him like a father, and I loved Marianne like a mother, but I could not be in your house at 11 o'clock at night. I was already raised a certain way.
Yeah.
So I was like the draft choice in the living room. I was like the draft choice in my neighborhood. I was just waiting for the perfect deal. Like the Garcias reached out.
The free agent.
But I had to share a room with the younger brother. Okay, I'll get back to you. They had a good day. They had a nice house. They had HBO. And they put the air on in the winter. They got to put the air on in the winter. A couple people offered me asylum. They weren't much into air conditioning. I can't live with you. All right. Balzanos.
Air conditioning. Yeah. You want motel requirements.
Yeah, because look, I was a single child. I had a cable in my room.
Yeah, you're alone at what, 16 now?
Growing up, I always had I had central air and I had an air conditioner. I like my room cold. My fan broke last week, so my wife had to buy me a new one. This is like the fan they used in Spider-Man 2 when Tobey Maguire was against the train.
Yeah.